If you work in B2B marketing, you have heard people discuss an ICP or ideal customer profile. But not only is it a cliche these days, it is also just a salesperson's wish list and not a good market segment built for marketing purpose. But to understand why and how to create a usable market segment, we first need to talk about business orientation. Just like every country has a culture, every business has some type of orientation. Basically, it comes down to what will make a company succeed or fail. For some, it might be the product. For others, it might be the sales team. For still others, it might be anything from market knowledge to the advertising to competitor intelligence. And this is a topic for another day. In the B2B software world, most companies have a mix of product and sales orientation. Product and sales run the show. They aim to compete on product features and pricing while getting the most leads and sales. But these companies know little about what end-to-end marketing actually encompasses because there is little market orientation. To them, marketing is just an afterthought. It's a department that just creates the websites and the ads and the social media posts, while the product and sales teams get the CEO's direct attention. As an example, here is what one CEO posted on LinkedIn. Quote, "In the day-to-day at company, I tend to be very focused on sales and product. I see the formula for being a successful business as quite simple. Build great product that solves people's needs and sell it." Unquote. Again, product and sales are top of mind, not marketing. So, what happens at these types of software companies? The sales team comes up with a list of characteristics of the customers who they think are the best targets. The list could contain anything from company size to the industry to the job titles to the locations to anything else. And then sales tells marketing to get all the people who fit all these criteria, and then they'll take it from there. Now, that sounds simple and logical, but there are actually many problems with it. An ICP is a bad example of market segmentation and targeting made by salespeople who do not understand marketing and what it does. First, the main problem is the word ideal in ideal customer profile. Business should never think about ideal scenarios. Business should strategize based on the actual market as it exists in the real world. An ICP is a hypothetical segment that exists only on paper. Second, say that your ICP consists of many, many attributes. How many people or companies in the world are actually going to match every single item on that list? Usually, it's too small of a number to be useful, especially when you think not about direct response that reaches current buyers, but about brand advertising that reaches future buyers. And what do you just end up doing to this very small number? Almost always spam them with LinkedIn messages and outbound or ABM emails. Third, sales likes ICPs because they think about moving deals past the finish line in the short term. That's their job. Marketing, in part, is concerned with researching, analyzing, and strategizing for the long-term value of the company. Proper segmentation and targeting focuses on both the short term and the long term. Fourth, an ICP does not contain specific pieces of information that an actual market segment must have to be useful for marketing's purposes. More on that in a second when I show you how to build a real market segment. Fifth, many of the criteria are impossible for marketing to use because you won't know whether a lead matches the criteria until a BDR or SDR scores the lead after it has already come in. That's because ICPs are actually sales qualification and lead scoring tools, not market segments. And sixth, vague generic ICPs create only vague generic personas that are completely unusable. Here's the most famous example. Take a second to go through each one. You'll see that this is, again, completely unusable. This ideal wish list says that Prince or King Charles and the late Ozzy Osbourne are exactly the same. So, what is good market segmentation and targeting? Here's an example. Say that your total market is 1 million people or 100,000 companies. You use your market research to divide the market into segments based on a set of at least two variables. Now, how do you do research? Which variables do you choose? And how you segment are topics for another time. But here's what each segment will need to contain. Say we're zooming in on segment 4 here. Each of these 12 example segments will need to have this specific information. And compare this to what you see in generic ICP personas. First, each segment, has a name. This is obvious, and it's for ease of reference. Second, you need the number of people in B2C or the number of companies in B2B in that specific segment. Third, you need the price that they specifically are willing to pay for your product or service. Fourth, you need the total financial value for that segment based on the size and the price they're willing to pay. Usually it is revenue based on the number of people or companies times the price they are willing to pay. But you can also do it in terms of things such as market share. The size and financial value is important because you can use that in media planning. You can estimate the total cost of reaching that number of people or companies over various channels and compare that to the future value, greater value of that segment. Fifth, you need the purchase funnel metrics for that segment. If you don't know the difference between purchase funnels, web traffic funnels, and generic funnels, see my prior video linked below. You use the purchase funnel metrics when deciding on the overall strategy for a given segment, and then on the tactical plan for that segment. Sixth, you need a detailed profile for that segment that can come from market research, interviews and focus groups, and your existing CRM data. You might choose, Now, once you have all that information for each segment of the entire market, you have an accurate picture of how the market looks in the real world, how the actual market looks in the real world. Obviously, this is much more valuable than an ideal hypothetical wish list. And now comes the next part of the strategic process, targeting. Which segments should you target now, and which segments should you target in the future? That's a choice that takes a lot of reflection. You might choose based on which has the greatest size, which has the most financial value, whose metrics are lowest in the purchase funnel, or other things. But you'll need to make a choice. And then the rest of the marketing journey continues.